Welcome back. You're listening to Off the Hour here on CKUT 90.3 FM. Next up, CKUT Stéphane Bertrand speaks with members of Seeing Voices Montreal, a McGill-based group that are working on theater that integrates sign language. They give the details of this exciting new project.
So today we're here for the Avalanche. We're going to do an interview by Seeing Voices. So you guys can introduce yourself first?
Hi, my name is Aslan, and I started the club called Seeing Voices Montreal.
I'm Josie. I'm the vice president of Seeing Voices Montreal.
Okay, so how did this project started?
Well, it started because Josie and we were in the same American Sign Language class at the McGill Rehab Center, and we just fell in love with American Sign Language. The fact is that American Sign Language is very expressive, and theater just came naturally to us.
So, what is Seeing Voices?
Well, it's actually a title of a book by Oliver Sacks. We read it and we thought it would be a good name for our theater group because it really shows what sign language is. It's you see someone's voice, you don't hear it.
So, what got you interested to learn sign language and to start this theater group?
For me personally, I have always been fascinated by sign language as a kid. I would see interpreters on TVs right next to politicians when they are making a speech, and instead of listening to the politician, I remember just staring at the interpreter and saying to myself, what are they saying and how come I don't understand? Maybe I should make it one of my lifelong goals to learn such a fascinating language, So I decided that one day I'm going to go sign up for a class.
For me, it was like something I just learned on my own. At the beginning, I would go and rent books from the library, and I would practice on my own. And eventually, I started realizing that sign language isn't just words. You're not signing words, you're also signing pictures. It's cool how one person signing can act as 5 different people all at once. And there's role shifts and setting up a scene, expressing each person's feelings in that situation, and it's really theatrical as a language.
It's one of the best storytelling languages. Using a language, you can describe the scene, the emotions, the setup, as Josie said, and it's not as straightforward as English or French. It's a visual language. It requires you to understand the scene with your eyes and your own feelings. Everyone can interpret sign language differently,
Mm-hmm.
So, how long it takes you to learn sign language?
It's like any other language, honestly, but it helps having friends who are deaf so that you learn from them, but it's still like any other language. It's probably even easier, I think, and because you could sort of make anything work as long as you see it inside your head as a movie, and you kind of put the scenes together like in a movie, sort of.
If you practice a lot with hearing or deaf people who sign, it's going to come to you more naturally. You're going to be better at coming up with the scenes, the movies in your head, describing something colorfully, and allowing the other person to understand precisely what you're describing. And also, this language is really diverse in a way that people with other disabilities, they can't speak, they're mute, or they have some sort of autism. They can't communicate with their voice, but they could use simple signs to show that, this is what they want. A child with autism at 6 years old can say, I want more juice, I want more milk, with a simple sign.
You want to explain, what type of play you guys are going to be doing?
Well, basically, it's going to be children's plays. Our first one is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, where Snow White is deaf and the dwarves are hearing. Our plays will be both in spoken English and sign language.
The cool thing about our play is that instead of just signing a regular story about Snow White, which everyone probably knows already, it's going to be adapted to a deaf theme. So the idea of deaf people in our society, deaf culture, they're all integrated into the play. That's why we made Snow White deaf. And there are various characters in the play who are different, hearing, deaf, tall, little. I feel like this is a great way to allow the children, the audience members, to see how it's like to be working with one another.
you're going to have hearing people and some people are deaf and you're going to mix them up.
Exactly.
That's pretty good because then it shows people how to work all together. Get rid of people looking at deaf people. They're strange. Like myself, sometimes I see the person doing all these movements and like people stare and people don't understand.
Some people don't even understand how sign language works. They don't know it's for people who are deaf and that's the way they communicate. They're just fascinated by it.
Yeah.
And so through this play, we can explain to them, this is how it works. You know, you use sign language if you communicate with a deaf person, but also it doesn't mean that everyone who's deaf signs. It's just one of their communication methods.
Yeah, like sign language, it's not just a language. It could be something different. It could be something spectacular to see. What type of people are in your group? What ages or what type of people you have in your show?
We have people ranging from students to professors to... There's no age limit. It doesn't matter if you're hearing, you know a little sign language. You're deaf, you only know the Quebec Sign Language. That's the language most of the deaf francophones here use, but we use American Sign Language. It's neat because we have a lot of deaf francophone friends who only know LSQ, Langue des Signes Québécoise, and they would like to learn ASL. So not only are we providing them a medium to learn ASL in a judgment-free environment, we're letting other people see that there are two sign languages. Everyone, when I talk about sign language, they think that the whole world uses the same. But that's not it. You have American Sign Language with a Canadian accent, a Canadian twist. That's different from the Americans. And you have the Quebec Sign Language and Italian Sign Language, Spanish Sign Language.
That's great. It's like there's different language of sign languages. And like people, they turn around and with people with disabilities, they pinpoint one thing and they think, oh, it's all same to them. Or like when I see a sign language, a deaf person, I have to talk like in pauses or like if they're stupid.
Oh, yeah. That actually happens a lot. Most of our deaf friends have had really bad experiences with hearing people. And sometimes it's really sad, but I think we shouldn't always judge hearing people either because if they don't know, then it's not their fault, you know?
That's also part of the reason why we think Seeing Voices is using a good medium to raise deaf awareness, because theater is different from a lecture. It's different from a speech. It's funny, incorporates emotions, incorporates the common thing that hearing and deaf people can relate to.
Okay, if somebody's listening to CKUT and is deaf and would like to participate, or if somebody is not deaf and likes to try, is it possible if they could come be part of it, or...?
Yes, I was hoping that a transcript of this interview can be made because, you know, obviously deaf people usually don't listen to the radio. So I was hoping...
fix that later.
So a transcript of this interview to be made, and the auditions for Deaf Snow White will be happening in February. And if you guys are interested in joining us, being part of the crew, being part of the cast, or just staying updated to what we do, you can find us on Facebook. It's www.facebook.com/singvoices. Or you can email us at sing.voices.montreal@gmail.com.
Is there anything you guys like to add?
We hope that our club raises more deaf awareness in Montreal, and we hope that more people join because it's going to be really, really fun.
I hope you guys invite me to come and see the show. I'll be honored to come. And
Welcome back. You just heard Seeing Voices Montreal. You're listening to the Avalanche on Off the Hour.